1995, in the year I was born, my dad bought a SE30 purple over blue as a new car from the dealership in Firenze, like Florence in Italy. And they called Della Quanti. There was the dealership at that time. And he bought about two cars at that time. Firstly, he bought the number 84. He picked it up, he drove home with the 84, and that was the first SE30 he bought. Even the same purple over blue. Later, he bought the 104. He sold the 84 to a friend of him in the north of Germany. At that time, they started the development, or they even ended up with the development of the Jota kit. At the Lamborghini meeting in Sanford, he met a friend, Jacques van Vliet, and he already got his Jota kit. So it was the first Jota he saw at that time, the silver inside lila, violet. So he went there with his SE30, Kramer as well at that time, the dealership in Germany, very famous, and Van Vliet with his Jota in silver. And he was very excited to see the Jota, and he knew about it. He tried to get a kit as well, and the factory decided, okay, Rainer, that's the name of my dad, you will get a kit. He brought his car to the factory at that time, and they finished it, everything. I think after 6 weeks, he picked it up. They brought it to Top Motors. They brought it back to the factory and picked it up in the factory as the Jota. He was very excited and very proud of having the Jota. He used that car for many years. As I said, I was born in that year. So for me, it was quite normal. You go to the garage, you see the Jota there, the purple over blue Jota. And all the time when he speaks about that car, it was like, it's the Jota. It wasn't the word SE30. Everybody, his friends, when he told about that car, it's, yeah, my Jota, I drive there with the Jota. It was just like normal for us. For me and my brother, it was the hero, that car at that moment. He sold the car in 2003. It was through a guy in Düsseldorf who made a lot of export to Japan. It was a Japanese guy who called Ito. At that time, I was 8 years old. So it was something like very special. Where is the car gone? Why we don't have it anymore? Later, he told me I needed the money to buy some real estate. At that time, he planned to buy a hotel, and it was a very good offer for that time, for this car. Me and my brother, on the day the car left, we stand in front of the car. It was the last look on that car. I remember we started to cry. I cannot explain, but it was something of our childhood. When you are in the car guy, you cannot imagine, but I think we are in the right group. So I think all the people can imagine it was horrible for us. For all the time we started up our business, we started up our passion and create all the things around us, we were talking about that car. After a while, when we had the first Lambos, when we started our business with normal cars and we owned the first Diablos, it was a dream for me and even for my brother to find that car. At that time, like 2015, 2016, I couldn't imagine that once a day I will find that car because it was in Japan and nobody knew where. Firstly, when the car came to Japan, this is something what Mr. Ito told me. The car went to a Yakuza guy. He owned it for a couple of years. He wrapped it and he drove it through Tokyo. And then the car was sold in Japan to any collection and nobody knew where it is. One day, a friend of us showed me a video of that car when it was in a workshop and the engine was running and somebody filmed how somebody sitting in the car and like it looked like they checking something. So I decided to search for the car on Instagram. I told myself maybe, because Instagram is so popular, everybody knows that, maybe there's a hashtag, maybe there's a place, maybe there's any picture of that car. Because I saw that video, the car was wrapped in a matte black and it had a SVR wing and the rear bumper was replaced. After a couple of months I searched for the car, I found a picture online where just written hashtag Diablo Jota, a car which matched the one I saw in the video, but not in black. It was purple, but the same wing, the same replaced bumper, and there was like a sticker on the front windshield which says SE30 Jota. And I said to myself, man, it could be that car. but it wasn't any influencer or something like that. It was just a photographer, and he did not reply me on any message, but he took a place in the feed where he made the picture. So I searched for that place. You couldn't find anything. So I had the idea, let's search in Japanese language. I took that place out of the Instagram and searched on Google in Japanese language. At the end, I found out it was like a car show in Japan, what this car was. Then I ended up, to hold it short, on a kind of a block. There were many cars. That guy showed up on his block. He has a workshop, but he's a very passionate guy. And I searched on his website and again and again and again. And after searching like for 30 minutes, scrolling down and down and down, see McLarens, Ferraris, Lambos, everything, even SV, so really everything, I found the purple Jota. And it was directly written, one of 17 Jotas and so on. I wasn't sure it's that car because only 28 kits, 17 made factory, maybe 18, nobody knows exactly, I think. But I think half of them were purple and much of them went to Japan that time. I made a screenshot of their website. I sent the picture to my dad. He called him and said, Ito, call these guys and ask if it's number 104. We did it another way. I sent him directly the VIN number because as a fan of the SE30, you know the VIN number is very easy, and just the 3 letters changing, or just the number in the back changing from 1 to 150. So it was the RLA 12104. So it was the 16th of December 2022. We had a Christmas dinner. He replied, yes, it's the one. The owner maybe would think about to sell it. How much would you offer? And he replied that to my dad. And my dad directly showed me the message he said he wanted. He asking for a price. And I was surprised, man. I was so surprised. It was too much for me at that moment. And I was thinking about, okay, how much you can offer. You can offer very low price. You can offer very high price. It could be a fault. It could be something which is too low that he will not reply to you. So it was really a situation we discussed, my brother, me, and my dad. And we decided to give him an offer. And the reply was maybe in that range, maybe a little bit more. And I told them, okay, I will be in Japan in the next week because I'm there for some business trip. I told them this story, that they thinking, okay, this guy is coming. Maybe we can arrange something. So they said, okay, you can come after 19th of December 2022. So at that day, I booked a flight to Japan, to Tokyo. I arrived in my opinion, biggest city I've ever been. 38 million people. It's an amazing city. I like it very much. And I was there for one day. And the next day, we had that appointment to see that car. The broker who arranged everything flew over 2 hours later. I met him on the airport, and we got picked up by the guy who runs the workshop. We went to the workshop, and that's how it started, man. We went there inside, and it was something which I never felt before. The car was on the lift in the backside of that workshop. And directly when we turned into the front yard of that workshop, I saw the color in the back. I directly saw the color, that purple Viola 30. When I saw the car in front of mine, I saw my childhood running in front of me. It was really like that. Very emotional. I think the people there felt it, but they didn't know it. My broker, and nowadays he's a friend of mine, he told him, you know something, this is the son of the first owner. And he said, what are you talking about? And I showed him, I said, okay, let me show you something. I pulled out the owner's manual, opened the service book from the first page, took out my passport, laid next to the first page and said, this is my dad, same address, and this is me. And he said, wait. It was too much for him as well. And then I made something which I would not say proud of, but it was a funny move. I brought the original license plate with me. The OF for Offenbach, where we were living, RH1. That was the license plate our dad had at that time for 8 years until he sold the car. And then he started to tell about the car. Then he was very open. Then he understood why I flew over to see the car. And what I didn't know, because it was the first time for me in Japan, What I didn't know is that the Japanese people, for them, a car has a soul. For them, it's very important that you have to take care about your car. It's like a child for them. We checked the car. He started up. I sit inside, and then it was 6 a.m. in the morning in Germany. I started up a group call in WhatsApp, and called my brother and called my dad. And my dad was the first guy who I get on the phone. And I said, he asked me directly, "So where are you? You will fly to the car now?" I said, "You're ready." And I turned the camera on. I turned the camera and showed him the car. And he was laying in the bed in the dark, and he saw the car, and he directly started to cry. Even me, I stand there and saw him crying, and the first sentence of him was, "Man, that was the biggest fault I made in my life." In case of cars. In case of cars, he said this was the car I should hold. And I said, "Okay, Dad, I will do my best to get it back." Nothing more happens that day. So it was in December 2022. Then, at the beginning of that day, they had the Japanese New Year. It's about 9 or 10 days. So everything cuts off. Everybody is not available. And after that, I called my broker. Can you ask him if he wants to sell the car and what is the price? 2 weeks later, he came back to me and said, "Okay, we have a price." He would think about to sell it for that price. I told him, honestly, I cannot afford that price. And he said, okay, maybe he's open for trade-in. At that time, I owned the 25th anniversary Countach downdrive for sure. Red over black with 4,000 kilometers, which I later sold to our friend Matthew Ivanhoe from the Cultivated Collector. And I tried to trade in that car. And he said, okay, it's a nice car. He would take it, but it's too expensive to import it and bring it over. So after a while, I think we negotiated for 6 or 7 months. We had so many conversations. In the while, I bought another 2 cars in Japan because then everything started for me in Japan. And really, I tried to buy that car for about 6 or 7 months. Once a day, he sent me a message and told me, "Moritz, the owner agreed on your price." And that was something I said to myself that can't be possible. Because I told him why he now decided to sell me that car for that price. And he said, it's not because of him, it's because of that workshop guy. He really pushed him. He pushed him to sell that car to me. He told me later, man, there was one option that car can end, and that's in your garage. It was a very important thing for him either. So I bought that car, I paid that car, and I called directly my brother and said, man, we get it. Then it started to plan how we get the car to Europe. Cars Japan made it for me. They done a great job. They imported for me in Amsterdam, and they brought it over to Frankfurt. I met the truck driver at the customs in Frankfurt to pay everything and get the car out of the bond and get it to my warehouse. We made everything. It was a horrible job. It took about 8 hours, I think. We unlocked the car in front of my warehouse. The first thing I have done, put on the dealer plates and drive to my parents. I told my dad, here's the key, try it. Drive your old car. And I think he was very excited. I told him, Dad, you sold that car with a little bit less than 20,000 kilometers. Now it has about 10,000 kilometers more. The car still has the tires from 2003. They never changed the tires. Please be careful. So drive slow. It was the first drive for me. The car was in the collection for a while. He said, yeah, I will do that. When our dad started his first test drive, my brother told me, man, you know that he will not drive slow. You really don't care about your words. I said, yeah, I think so. And in that moment, you directly heard that Kreisig exhaust, how he accelerated from the second to the third gear. And it was like, I think he was like about 1 or 2 miles away, but you could hear him. And it was amazing.
We'd like to thank this month's sponsor, the VINwiki YouTube channel, Minta Watches. We know the world of great cars and great watches tends to overlap a lot, and Minta specializes in remarkable timepieces, both vintage and modern, because they know that great watches also have great stories. So if you're looking for some entertaining and educational watch content, be sure to check out Adam's YouTube channel. And if you're in the market for a watch or you just want to learn more about watches, be sure to reach them at the link in the description below. They'll take great care of you.